I think map modifiers is the future of Brawl Stars. That's the next big thing coming, in my opinion. And we already have two of them in jump pads and minecarts, and I just think we're gonna see a bunch more added to the game in the next future. Here's 50 great ideas for map modifiers that Brawl Stars can add to the game. Let's do it. Part of the reason I think map modifiers is the future of Brawl Stars is, well, you can keep on adding brawlers easily, but as far as game modes, I kind of think it's hard to just keep on adding more and more game modes. It just starts to get a little bit too much, and Brawl Stars already has 7 game modes at the moment, so while they could maybe add 1 or 2 more, definitely, I think for the most part, map modifiers and event modifiers is the direction Brawl Stars is going to go, because then you can have those game modes and you can easily make them fresh, change them up with these small changes that just make it a really different experience playing the game. And of course we have jump pads, which definitely change up the maps a lot, and minecarts, which definitely makes that one map really crazy. Now here's 50 ideas for map modifiers, event modifiers. Some of them are just objects to put in maps that I think are really going to change up your playing experience in Brawl Stars, and I really hope and think Brawl Stars should add some of these. Now all of these ideas are by Chrono Pierce, so big shout out to him. He has a lot of other great ideas to improve Brawl Stars. I'll put a link to his profile in the description. Definitely check him out, and let me know which one of these modifiers you think is your favorite or has the best chance of making it in game. All right, starting off with the first one, iron blocks. We already actually had these in the game before. They were in the old Robo Rumble. Indestructible blocks you could not destroy. I think this would be a great add to Brawl Stars. Just keep the maps more like the style stays the same throughout the course of the game, as opposed to like in Bounding where everything gets destroyed and it's just a completely different map towards the end of it. This could keep it more similar. What about also too, just cracking blocks? I think would be another great add. Just walls that are more destructible on the other side of the coin, where you don't need to have a super or something that can break down walls that can just break down more easily. A hole? I think I don't know about this one, because dying in a hole is kind of iffy here, but it would make it more interesting, I guess, maybe if there was just a hole in the center of the map in Showdown. Thorn bushes seems like it would make a lot of sense to me. Something that slows people down. Just another add to the game where you have energy drink that makes people go faster. Add thorn bushes, maybe just a little bit of damage or even no damage, just slow people down, just sort of like Spike Super or Shelly Super. And of course, if they're aware of it, they can avoid it, but maybe they're forced to go into it to escape. That'd be cool. A bridge. We've seen this idea suggested before, and it definitely would be cool. Doesn't change up maps that much unless there's a lot of water, and I'm usually not a huge fan of maps with a lot of water, but maybe this could be a way to make maps with water a little bit more enjoyable. A smoker. I sort of view this as like respawning grass. As long as it doesn't really obstruct viewing on the map, it really just acts very similar to grass. This is sort of respawning grass. In that case, I think it'd be cool because it's just grass that is kind of, maybe it's not exactly random, but it's in different places and you never know exactly where someone might be with that sort of modifier. Speed pad, that would be very cool. It's just sort of the opposite of the thorn bushes, right? Just another obstacle in the game where you can go faster on it. I think this would be cool. Just something like this, change up the map as far as, it's like jump pads, but redux. It's smaller. You still get that movement speed or that moving across the map, but you know exactly where you're going. A shield, I definitely want to see this as a modifier. This is more of an event modifier, sort of like energy drink, except it's just a shield. And there's a lot of brawlers with shield mechanics. It'd be cool to have other brawlers have temporary shields sort of like this. It'd be fun to see and play with them in game. A conveyor belt. Now I'm not entirely sure how I feel about this, but one thing I can imagine is you put it around the center of a gem mine or something, and the gems are just constantly rotating as they spawn on the conveyor belt. That would be kind of cool, and it would definitely change up gem grab. I'm not sure I could really imagine a conveyor belt that transports items in other modes, but maybe in gem grab it could work. High walls. Now this has been suggested before, and I definitely think it'd be something that should be added to the game. Walls where throwers cannot attack over them, or even indestructible as well, or they can't jump over them. I think that would be really cool to add in the game. Just another depth to add to maps, make it more interesting and more strategy elements to the game. Burning grass. I mean, people have suggested similar stuff like lava, where it's just you walk over something and you take damage. I definitely think this is an idea that Brawl Stars should add. I mean, imagine that in Showdown just temporarily throughout the map. Although, of course, your spawn might impact it a little bit, but if it's only a couple tiles, it's not a huge area. I think it could be a lot of fun. A mini pad. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about this one, as I don't really feel like it fills a big need. But it could potentially work, and maybe you could mix up a map with big jump pads and mini jump pads, and that could be kind of fun. A rail pad. This sounds like it quickly transports players from one place to the next. Honestly, kind of like a jump pad, except I guess you can maybe take damage while you're being transported in this case. And maybe you can even shoot as well, which would be kind of cool. Probably doesn't fill a big need, as it is similar to jump pads. Leafy bush. I don't know exactly about grass that slows people down. I mean, imagine encountering a tank in that grass. You're even more screwed than before. But it would be cool to have grass that respawns again, because I feel like that was a great element to Brawl Stars, but they removed it. So maybe add a specific thing back that can respawn. An ammo box. This is sort of like an event modifier, sort of how energy drink makes you do more damage. This would make your reload speed be a lot faster, which would be really cool for brawlers like Piper, but honestly be cool for almost all brawlers. Except for like El Primo, there's a couple brawlers it might not work with that well, but for a lot of them it would be fun. Bombs. This one I feel like might be pretty hard to balance. I'm trying to imagine how this would work, and I can only imagine sort of spawning randomly on the map. And at the moment it kind of seems like meteors, except it only activates when you shoot it, which might feel like it's kind of unfair, especially if it spawns right next to you and it's like no one really wants it, right? A rink. I feel like this is basically adding frozen water to the game, which people have definitely suggested, you know, freezing over water as an event modifier. I definitely think it could work, especially if it affects movements in some way, whether it's harder to change direction or like once you walk on it, you can't change direction. That'd be kind of cool if there wasn't a ton of ice in one spot. You just sort of slide across it. That might be fun. A spotlight. Basically what this is if the light shines on an area of grass, it reveals anyone who's in that spot. I think this would be kind of cool, especially like say if you put it in the middle of Feast or Famine, or you put it in the middle of Snake Prairie. That might be kind of fun. But I'm not entirely sure. I mean, you would know it's coming though, so you would be able to avoid it, but it would definitely change up how you move across the map, which might be a little interesting. Cannon blocks. I mean, it's something that shoots a cannonball every couple seconds and it deals damage to anyone it hits. This would be pretty cool. It's kind of like mine carts, but it's just in a straight direction, not all the way across the map. Although in this case too, apparently you'd be able to destroy the cannon blocks, which would be kind of interesting to add another element of how quickly you want to destroy it. A torch. This sounds really interesting. Basically, if you shoot through the torch, it adds fire damage to all of your attacks. I mean, imagine the depth you could add with this. It would definitely, like, say you put it in the center of a map in Bounty or something like that, I think would be a really fun way to change up the mode. It would in this case, it would work with melee brawlers too, but probably wouldn't really be that useful with them. Bouncy walls. This sounds like a really fun idea where all attacks bounce off the walls. You don't have to be Rico, you don't have to be Carl. Everyone's attacks would bounce off it if it has that extra range. Like say you shoot a Brock attack from 5 tiles away, it's gonna bounce that extra 4 2/3 tiles to the next, I don't know, in whatever direction you angle it at, I guess, which would be pretty fun just to add some craziness to the game. Speed rings. This sort of sounds like meteors, but just for movement speed. They spawn on the map and they either increase your movement speed or they decrease your movement speed, which would also be kind of cool, although it is pretty similar to meteors. But to be honest, I think meteors should be removed, so maybe do this instead. Not entirely sure. I don't know if it would stop teaming exactly, but it might be fun. A critter container. This sounds really, really cool. Essentially, it has a robot inside the container. Once you destroy the glass, which has a certain amount of health, maybe like 5,000 or something, and then the robot will come out and attack the nearest enemy or nearest person to it, which would be really cool. In this case, it says it's 5,000 HP. I think that might be a little bit much, but maybe not. I don't know. It's sort of like a mini Angry Robo, except you know exactly where it is, and you will know about, you know, how much health it has left before it goes down. So this could be something to add to the game. I don't know if you'd have it spawn randomly or it's just set on certain areas of the map before the game even starts. Tunnels. This is basically like teleportation, which honestly is like a really fast jump pad, if we're being honest here. It would be fun. Again, there's a lot of movement ones, which all end up being pretty similar as far as moving across the map. So I probably wouldn't have too many of them, but some of these are better than others, so you could add the best one. A lava trap. Basically, this is a trap that you can activate by shooting the lever. I think any sort of trap that isn't always on the map and something that you can activate yourself would be pretty cool and could add a lot of depth to the gameplay. It might be kind of tricky to make it balanced as far as, like, in this case it says the person instantly dies, which might be kind of too strong, but if you just have it deal damage, then that could be fine. A giant pinball. This sounds really fun. It's basically a huge rolling ball that damages people, but if you attack it, it changes the direction it goes in. Now, maybe you'd have to sort of balance it as far as how quickly it changes direction, because if it changes direction really easily, then it might not be super balanced. But again, I guess if you're out of ammo or you're reloading slow, maybe it would be hard to make it go a different direction. I don't know. The idea sounds interesting. I'm not entirely sure how it would work, but it might be fun. A magnet. This sounds kind of interesting, where you can pick up power cubes and you can pick up gems easier, but it doesn't really impact the gameplay that much. Probably wouldn't add this one, but you never know. Maybe there's some interesting applications you could do with it. Power cell, basically an instant supercharger. This would definitely be fun, or even an event modifier where everyone has their super always charged, or maybe that's a little bit too much, but it automatically charges maybe every 10 seconds. Or just something like this, where it charges your super automatically. A different variation on a shield. This one essentially has a set amount of health that it protects on you, and it lasts forever until that shield is destroyed. This would definitely be cool. And then too, I feel like it's maybe a little bit more balanced, where you don't have people just completely running around trying to use up whatever thing they got before it runs out. So this would be kind of fun, although you definitely wouldn't want to have them stack. A laser cannon. Now this sounds interesting. It's a weapon you can pick up that does a certain amount of damage and it has a certain amount of range. Basically, imagine you're an El Primo and you pick up a laser cannon. I don't know entirely how balanced this would be, but it sounds really fun. And essentially anything that just changes up your attacking, that'd be pretty cool. Push pad. This honestly just sounds like a jump pad, but it's on a wall, so not that different. Moving on. Asphalt, again, another small movement speed increase. A small movement speed increase, okay, that's fine. Probably more realistic for it to be small than big. A geyser. This is sort of like a switch activated trap, where if you step on it, the trap opens up, but it's, I guess, much in a larger area, so it's even more of an impact, and it's not instant death, I guess, like the lava trap. Definitely sounds possible. I mean, you can definitely avoid it because you would know if someone's walking towards the trap or not, presumably. Reinforced blocks. These sound like walls that are breakable, but they take more attempts to break. Like if you have a super that breaks down a wall, maybe you'd have to super that wall 2 times or 3 times in order to break down that wall. So it's still breakable, but not right away, which honestly sounds kind of nice, because sometimes you're a brawler that breaks down walls and you kind of don't want to break down walls, but you're really just trying to super the enemy, and in this case, it wouldn't be as big of a detriment to those sort of brawlers. Pine tree. Maybe I can't exactly picture how well this would work, but it sounds like from this description that it would take up a lot of imagery on the map, and it might be more difficult to see things. Or it's just like grass, I'm not entirely sure, so let's move on. Targets. This is not exactly a modifier, but this is basically an improvement to Training Cave, which I definitely would love, and there's a lot of ways Training Cave can be improved. This would definitely be a solid one for that. Fog. This sounds definitely cool. Basically, it's grass, but if you shoot it, it disappears temporarily, so you actually can scout out grass even easier and for longer periods of time. So if you shoot someone, you shoot that area and no one's there, okay, fine, but you can actually check the rest of it without someone moving to where you just shot, like someone can do with grass, and avoid you completely. But with this, that wouldn't happen. Toggle blocks. This sort of sounds like blocks or walls that rise up and down depending on if you shoot the lever or not, which would be really cool. I guess if you were on top of the block, you would just slide off of it when that happens, but a wall that goes up and down would be an interesting idea to add to the game. Wind. Now this would definitely spice up the game. Something that's constantly pushing you, but it's not that strong. Maybe it's just kind of in the way. Would definitely change it up a lot, and as far as moving which way you would go, I think it would change the gameplay style as far as flanking enemies or trying to get past people. I mean, also too, maybe if you're trying to go in that direction, it makes you go faster. Of course, if you're going against it, it makes you go slower, so definitely could change it up. Directional pads. It's basically a jump pad that sends you in whatever direction you are walking, which would definitely, I think honestly, that sounds a lot better than the current jump pads, and I think would be a lot more fun and interesting to actually be able to control a little bit more the direction you want to go. Although, I don't know, maybe it might be too strong to be able to control that sort of thing that well. Frost Geyser is basically the same thing as the Flame Geyser from before, a trap that you can activate by stepping on it, but in this case it not only damages people but it slows people down, probably does less damage, so I don't know, might be kind of fun, but I would probably only add one of the two, I guess. Acid Pool, it's something that damages you, but the longer you stand in it, the more damage you take, not just like 100 damage per second, goes like from 100 per second to like 200 to 500, something like that, where if you really are stuck in it, you are in a lot of trouble. Assault Blade, think of it like a minecart that just spins in a circle. I would definitely change it up. I mean, you would know to avoid it, but maybe if you could destroy it eventually, then it might be a little more balanced, or it's just something that's permanently there. An Icy Flame Torch, like the flaming one earlier, but if your shots go through it, it will slow people down. Another thing to change it up. A Spiky Ball. You put this in Brawl Ball instead of the regular ball, and if it hits someone, it does damage to them. And if you use your super, it knocks them back as well. I definitely think changing up the ball in Brawl Ball could be a lot of fun, and I guess this is one potential way to do that. Healing Fruit, a modifier that heals you. I definitely think this should be added. Just like shields, this would be another thing that could be fun for a modifier. A Landmine, being able to pick up a mine as an event modifier and then plant it wherever you want would be really, really cool. Although, I guess you would kind of need an extra button to be able to do that, so I don't know entirely how that would work. But if they could do it, it'd be fun. A Supply Crate. Think of it as an even stronger box from Solo Showdown. I think this would be definitely change the game up, and I don't see why not. Maybe just put like one on every map, and it could be a lot of fun. A different ammo box, where in this one, you actually get an extra ammo slot, which only works once, but then you can fire off 4 shots at once instead of just 3. This would be fun for certain brawlers for sure. Like Piper being able to just completely do even more snipes. This would be very important for her, people with slow reloads. Ultra Vision Goggles would be sort of like bow star power for anyone, except it only lasts for a short period of time. Definitely spice it up. I mean, definitely I would love to see more event modifiers like this, especially on, of course, grassy maps. Check out more great ways to improve Brawl Stars right over there, like new brawlers, new skins, and even new game modes. But that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you later.